Happy Sunday, y'all. Good morning, good afternoon. I think most of you are probably heading home from your respective houses of worship. So if you see this, you'll see it later. Maybe some of you don't have a house of worship, so this might be your Sunday morning sermon. But I was just coming back from ministering at a church that's probably an hour away from home, and I had thoughts on my mind. I was like, let me take this opportunity to do a quick live video. Trying to do more of that these days. I want to thank you guys so much, just for those of you who prayed for me and just like followed along my Israel trips. I mean, a couple of you guys are really engaged with my posts and we're following along each day. And that means a lot, because sometimes, I said this in one of my posts, I'm like, sometimes like, do people even read this stuff? So the fact that you guys were actually like going on the tour with me and giving feedback, that means a lot. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a little taste of Israel. It was a really beautiful trip. I wish I could go into detail, but I'll just say this much. When you're walking God's land, when you're walking Yeshua's land, Jesus' land, he makes it really known that you're in his hometown. He shows up in extra special ways, and it's almost like he wants to show you a good time. You know what I mean? Like when someone comes to your house or your town, you want to show them all your favorite spots and make sure they're well taken care of and well cared for. And that's kind of what it's like when you're in Israel. This was my second time, and it's always like you feel that he's there. His presence is there. So really cool stories from our trip. But I am going live this morning because as I'm driving home from sharing at this church, I started thinking like, man, oh man, how did I get here? I started thinking like, here I am this 38 in about a month and a half year old woman who has kind of built this, I don't know if you want to call it like life for herself, but here I am in this place in my life where I have kind of taken on this wonderful responsibility and opportunity to serve others and to be used by God. And I feel like there's nothing special, about me as a person. And sometimes, I think people look at people who, like me, who are just like going for it, taking the opportunities and plunging ahead, and they think, oh, that person is so unique and special. But the truth is that, how do I put this? I feel like we are in a time when we need to really move when there's something that we feel is on our heart to do. I guess what I'm saying is like, it's time to be obedient. Like if there's something that you feel, if there is a need that you see in the world around you, that usually means you're the one to fill it. That usually means it's up to you to respond to that need, or else you wouldn't have seen it. And I think back to like, the last, I don't know, let's say 10-year journey of my life, more specifically, maybe the last 7 or 8 years. And I look at all the things that God has used me to do. Now, mind you, and bragging is not my style. God's heard my heart. I'm not a bragger. I am honestly still trying to work my way up to what I feel like God is calling me to do. And it's definitely hard sometimes. But I look back at just like, 2017, God said, buy a house. I hadn't been saving up for a house, but I just knew God was telling me buy a house. And you know what? Because I moved in obedience, he made it happen. And then I felt God was saying, start a community home out of your house. And I had no idea how that was going to happen. But this, one day I'll share the whole story, but miraculously, boom, it happened. And God said, start a ministry out of your house. And I was just like, I'm going to do this. I guess what I'm trying to say is that the truth is when you start saying yes to God, it gets easier and easier and easier to say yes. This is the truth. Because you start to see how faithful he is to your yeses, and how he makes it so much, how he shows up in your yes. And so here I am again, this young woman. I'm not an ordained pastor. I'm not like officially recognized by any big organization. I'm just saying yes. Like literally, I'm putting one foot in front of the other and saying yes. And I think so much in life, like we're told to like pursue goals, right? Pursue our own goals. But there's something that God has really made it clear to me, is that when the goal you're pursuing is serving other people, He will bless it. Like, they will come. Because so often, you know, our goal is about serving ourselves. Now, I'm a musician. Some of you guys know I used to have a band, and we traveled and we performed. And then, my sister's a full-time musician. We traveled and we performed. But I know what it's like to promote myself. Okay, as a musician, you have to promote yourself. Come see me play. Come to this concert. And it's hard. People are like, well, why? Why do I want to come see you play? But the difference with the kingdom is that when you are promoting, when you are building something that serves people, when you are meeting a need, people will come. It's like that phrase, if you build it, they will come. And it's not just about that. It's also about, there's another verse that comes to mind which says, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto me. There is a formula. And the formula is two things. Number one, serving other people. Number two, lifting His name up. Those two things, if you stay obedient to doing those two things, the visions that God has given you, He will bless that vision. I'm telling you that. He will bless that vision. Again, there are still things that I am believing God for. Partners, in this ministry, partnerships, financial partnerships, hint, hint. But like things that allow me to really to really be fruitful in what I'm doing. But I have faith that God is bringing all that in His season, in His due time. So I guess I came to you with this short video because sometimes I look around me and I see the potential in the people that I'm surrounded by. I just came from this church service and I'm looking out and I'm like, all of these people have so much to give and do and all these amazing talents. And who knows, maybe they feel like, I'm not qualified, or why me, or who would listen to me. I'm familiar with all of those feelings, like very familiar with all of those feelings. Excuse me, I don't want to miss my turn. Okay. And they're lies. Like, I'm telling you, when you feel the urge that you are called to do something, it's because you are. It's because you are. And here's a little tidbit that I hope speaks to someone today as I sign off with this last thing. God speaks to me in a very specific way. And I think that maybe some of you He speaks to in the same way, or He shows you things in the same way, but maybe you didn't realize it was Him. So I'm going to share this, and maybe some of you will say, oh, so maybe that is God. So when I get an idea or a vision to do something, to whether it's like plan an event or start a new ministry idea, or gather people to my house for a time of worship, whatever. When I get an idea, the way I know that it's God breathed is that He literally gives me, almost like He plays out a video before my eyes. Now, I don't mean like literal. I'm not seeing a vision, but in my mind's eye, it's almost like deja vu, maybe reverse deja vu. I don't know, but I literally can see myself in that moment, and I see the people who are supposed to be there, and it feels like it already happened. So I don't know if that speaks to you guys, but I know it's from God when I see it and it feels familiar. It's like, oh, this already exists in God's heart, if that makes sense. And usually, I'll say each and every time, it has been effortless to pursue that thing, and it's been effortless for others to come into that thing. And so I actually think of that as almost as if there is another like realm or dimension where God dwells, which is basically the truth, and He has already written, a story of our lives, of His perfect will for our lives, which is the truth. Now, we still have free choice. We can choose whatever we want to do, but He's got this perfect path, And so when we are pursuing Him and seeking Him, He will actually allow us to get a little glimpse, like a little taste of a piece of that story. And for me, it's so vivid. It's like He really lets me see video of a piece of my story that exists in his realm, and I get to pull that thing from heaven down to earth. And it's a joy, because it's like, oh, we're partnering together. We're like co-working this thing, God. So be encouraged. I just wanted to say, if God has put something on your heart, don't be afraid. Don't wonder about the ifs or hows. Like, really take a leap of faith. It might have a small beginning. I'm still in my very small beginnings, but God will bless it in his due season. So be encouraged. And I love you all, and I hope this spoke to you. Okay, bye-bye.